allow me to introduce a comprehensive list of all the tariffs the Prime Minister has successfully had reduced on Canada.
Canada just witnessed one of the most explosive exchanges in Parliament this year, an exchange that perfectly exposes the deep fault lines running through this country's economy, its politics, and its future. And it all begins with one simple, painful truth: Canadians are financially stretched to the breaking point, and instead of relief, they got what the opposition is calling the costliest budget in Canadian history. The government insists it's investing in sovereignty, infrastructure, and innovation. But the opposition fires back. Behind the slogans lies a brutal fiscal reality. The Parliamentary Budget Officer has confirmed the Prime Minister has doubled Trudeau's deficits. Not matched them. Not slightly increased them. Doubled.
Subscribe before moving forward.
And added another $16 billion more to the national debt than he promised. Add it all up, and Canadians are staring at $78 billion of new debt, an amount equal to around $5,000 per family. So the question lands like a hammer: how does the Prime Minister expect single moms, seniors, and small business owners, people who are already falling behind, to cover another $5,000 for inflation they didn't create? Instead of answering directly, the Finance Minister launches into a booming defense, accusing the opposition of trying to block investments in everything from housing to productivity to sovereignty. He declares her party will build a strong Canada, empower citizens, and protect sovereignty because they believe in Canada.
We will take no lessons from the Conservatives. Mr. Speaker, what they did yesterday under this leader, they voted against investment in infrastructure. Under this leader, they voted against investment in housing. Under this Conservative leader, they voted against productivity and innovation in our country. Under this leader, they voted against investment in our sovereignty, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we'll build a strong Canada, we'll empower Canadians, and we'll protect our sovereignty because we believe in Canada.
Parliament bursts into applause, but the opposition leader immediately fires back with a punchline that sends the whole chamber into laughter. I don't think anybody's been able to cram that many slogans into one answer, and this is coming from me. But the laughter vanishes as he moves to the next issue: housing. Billions spent, endless announcements, countless photo ops. So where are the homes? New data shows housing starts collapsing across the country. Down 17% nationally. Down 42% in Toronto. Down 36% in Vancouver. Down 35% in Ontario. Down 22% in British Columbia. The more the government spends, the fewer homes get built.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think anybody's been able to cram that many slogans into one answer, and this is coming from me. This is coming from me. Let's take housing. He says they're spending billions of dollars more on housing. The results are out today. Housing starts down 17% year over year. Where we need the most, in Toronto, down 42% year over year. Vancouver, 36% year over year. Ontario, down 35%. And BC, down 22%. Why is it that the more Liberals spend, the less that we can build?
So what's going on? The housing minister strikes back instantly, accusing the opposition of cherry-picking monthly data instead of looking year-to-date, claiming housing starts are actually up 5% from 2024 to 2025. He jokingly suggests the opposition struggles with numbers, triggering another round of applause. But the core question still hangs in the air: why does housing keep getting worse when spending keeps going up? Before anyone can catch their breath, the debate shifts to foreign policy, and that's when things get even more heated. The opposition leader unloads a devastating rundown of what he calls the Prime Minister's World Travel Tariff Tour. 28 international trips. 150,000 kilometers, enough to fly around the planet 4 times. And what do Canadians have to show for it? According to the opposition, rising tariffs on almost every major export. The US doubled tariffs on steel, aluminum, and autos. China increased tariffs on farmers and fish harvesters. India slapped tariffs on Canadian peas. The UK continues blocking Canadian beef entirely. Every trip, every handshake, every summit, followed by higher costs for Canadians who grow, build, and ship. Then comes the knockout moment. The opposition leader raises a blank sheet of paper, nothing on it, and tells Parliament, "Allow me to introduce the complete list of tariffs the Prime Minister has successfully reduced." The chamber erupts. Laughter. Applause. Even government MPs look uncomfortable.
Prime Minister billing millions of dollars for his high-flying trips around the world, 28 trips, 150,000 kilometers. Now is the time for a scorecard. The Americans have increased tariffs on Canadian autos, aluminum, steel, and lumber. The Indians have increased tariff on our peas. The Chinese increased it on our farmers, our fish harvesters. Now, allow me to introduce a comprehensive list of all the tariffs the Prime Minister has successfully had reduced on Canada.
But the government hits back with one narrative-changing example: Germany signing a $1 billion defense deal with Lockheed Martin Canada, a major win that supports Canadian workers. The trade minister argues the opposition refuses to support efforts to double non-US exports and mocks Canadian industries by calling anything other than oil pixie dust. She cites billions in beef, electronics, fish, and seafood exports and tells the opposition to get out of the way. This clash isn't just about numbers. It's about two completely different stories about where Canada is heading. One side says the government is overspending, underdelivering, and losing ground globally. The other says the opposition is blocking progress, denying investments, and refusing to recognize Canada's economic potential. And the wildest part? This was just the opening round. Because after all the shouting, the applause, the finger-pointing, and the slogans, Canadians are left with a single, unavoidable question: who's actually fighting for them? And that question becomes impossible to ignore as the final exchange unfolds. The opposition leader brings it home with a sharp, cutting message: Canadians aren't asking for world tours, billion-dollar announcements, or speeches about sovereignty. They're asking for affordability, stability, and accountability. And they're not getting any of it. He walks through the numbers again, this time slower, like he wants every Canadian watching to feel it. $78 billion in new debt. $5,000 more per already struggling family. Housing starts collapsing in every major region. Tariffs climbing across the board. Exports blocked, farmers squeezed, small businesses drowning. And then he asks the question that echoes like a political siren: how much more can Canadians take? But the government refuses to back down. They insist that the opposition is trying to sabotage the country's future by rejecting investments in workers, innovation, and sovereignty. They paint the Conservatives as obstructionists, people who will say no to absolutely everything, even if it helps Canadians compete globally. They accuse the opposition of mocking the very industries that feed this country, calling their comments about pixie dust exports disrespectful to the workers who pull billions in value from land and sea. The trade minister ends her defense with a thunderous message: get on board, or get out of the way. And that is where Parliament explodes. Cheers. Heckles. Applause. Everyone shouting over each other. A full political storm, broadcast live.